we're trying to get on the same page. And I think if you just go and parent kids a certain way and I go parent kids a certain way, a different way, that's where the contention happens. We need to talk prior to making certain decisions, whether it's discipline, whether it may be curfew, whatever it may be, screen time. Like, we need to not just, I say something and you follow, or you say something and I follow. Hey, what do we think is best? And how do we think we can best parent and love this child?
Hey, you guys, and welcome to the Paula Faris Show. I'm your host, Paula Faris, and this is the bonus episode for 2023. We had so much of a response to our Ask Us Anything that John and I are doing a bonus episode to make sure that we can get all of these great questions in. Last episode, we talked about relationships, family, and we gave you an inside look as to why we gave our marriage another chance. In this episode, one of the most common questions that I get as a parent is, how do you parent when the other parent has a totally different style than yours? So we dive into parenting, work-life balance, and you'll also hear why you will never date John Kruger's daughter. Without further ado, here's our bonus episode. Let's move into parenting. Our parenting styles are so different, John. They're so different. Mel wants to know, what are your parenting styles and where have you had to compromise the most with those styles?
I would say you're a lot more dictatorial when it comes to parenting.
Thanks.
And I mean that in a good way. You're very direct. Hey, we're going to do this, where I try to have more of a understanding of the kids and have conversations with them and give them the grace they need to hopefully make good informed decisions. But that's been something that you and I, we're trying to get on the same page. And I think if you just go and parent kids a certain way and I go parent kids a certain way, a different way, that's where the contention happens. We need to talk prior to making certain decisions, whether it's discipline, whether it may be curfew, whatever it may be, screen time. Like, we need to not just, I say something and you follow, or you say something and I follow. Hey, what do we think is best? And how do we think we can best parent and love this child?
You basically just said that you're the enabler and I'm the disciplinarian, right? You're daddy good times.
I didn't hear enable. I think the word empower. I think that's the word. I try to empower our kids because they're going to be gone. They have to make their own decisions.
I will say,
if any boundaries, then they're not going to know what to do when those boundaries are taken away someday.
And this is probably the biggest source of contention in our marriage. Besides fighting over what's for dinner, it's the consistency in parenting. We fight about this so much because I will say something and John won't enforce it, or vice versa. John will say something and I won't enforce it, or we haven't communicated about it.
And it comes down to we haven't communicated about it. If we communicate about it and talk about it ahead of time, it's all good.
Yeah.
We never have the issue.
But we do have totally different parenting styles. You're daddy good times and I am the disciplinarian. And that's tough for me because I feel like I'm the tough one, right? But regardless of whether or not you have different parenting styles, you got to be on the same page in front of your children. And so one thing that you've done that I appreciate that's helped in our parenting is you support it publicly, like in front of the children. We're going to do this not just because mommy asked you. That's one thing I was like, don't say that. Don't say because mommy. No, we're going to do this because your mom and I are in agreement on this. So even if it's something I don't agree with, that you want to enforce publicly in front of the children, it's not just do this because daddy said. I'll say, do this. Do not dishonor my husband. Do not dishonor, your father. We're in agreement on this. And so I think just in front of the children, it's so important to say, this is my spouse and you are going to honor my spouse, and your father and I are in agreement on this. Being consistent is so tough, though. I will say that. That's probably one reason why our son ended up drawing a penis on a sympathy card. Like, we just, your third kid, you're just hanging on.
It's tired. They wear you down. They definitely.
Oh my gosh.
I do think that being proactive parenting is key. Like, there's certain things that are going to happen in a day and in a week, and you got to get in alignment with your spouse on how you're going to handle those. Because if you just react when the moment happens, you're probably not going to handle it right.
Yeah. It's been important for me that I live in a lot of grace, that I give myself grace and my kids grace. I make a lot of mistakes. I don't expect perfection from the kids. If we do something that hurts one another, we're very quick to say, I'm sorry, I was in the wrong. Will you forgive me? So we don't try to project perfectionism. And Caroline, our oldest, wrote me a card. She said, you're not the perfect mom, but you're the perfect mom for me. That's the mom I want to be. I want to live in that grace, quick to forgive. I mean, she and I, John, you weren't there for it. We got into a huge argument. Like, I was using potty words. Okay.
That's
that
one of
was,
my favorite things.
you know why?
Fighting.
It was about Taylor Swift, a Taylor Swift concert. And the boys were just sitting on the couch watching, like, oh my gosh. I was not a healthy version of myself, but also, like, that was a good teaching moment for the kids to say, I'm really sorry how I reacted. I should have reacted like this. Will you forgive me? And to just forgive yourself, not beat yourself up, but move on and show your children that forgiveness is a huge part of life. And so is imperfectionism.
Yeah. Making mistakes happens. It's how you respond.
Yeah. Sarah wants to know, is there any discipline or correction that's worked on 5 to 6-year-old boys?
I would say you got to figure out, I don't want to say their pain point, but like, what, if you take something away from them, what is going to hurt most? Some people, it may be an Xbox, that if you take away Xbox time, or they can't go play with their best friends for the next couple of days, or just like, what will really get their attention and them identify, hey, what I did, mommy and daddy did not like, and I need to stop that moving forward if I want to have this activity that I really, really enjoy. So
yeah, like, you want to punish them out of love too. That was something that's always been a struggle for me. I was really disciplined growing up. I was spanked, and I would get so angry when my parents disciplined me, because my love language is physical touch. And so I felt like they were using that physical touch in a way that really hurt me. And so I know when we were disciplining our youngest, I spanked Landon, and he had the worst reaction to it. And I realized I was hurting him more by trying to discipline him in that manner. So what I found, he loves certain shows. So we would just say, okay, there's no iPad, there's no screen time the rest of today. We put him in timeout, and then we would be very clear about what he did wrong, and why he was there. But again, it's making sure that you're consistent. And we're not perfect parents here either. How do you control, this is a good one from Dawn, how do you control your kids' time and what they see on social media, their screen time? And I will just say, Dawn, before I act like I'm the expert on this, Landon, our 9-year-old, and JJ were up till 12:30 playing Fortnite the other night. But that was because we gave them a permission. There was this really cool event. You limit their screen time. It's a huge struggle. We read a good book called Parenting Generation Screen. We'll put the link in the show notes. And that really helped us with some firm boundaries. The kids are not allowed to have their phones in their room at night under any circumstances. And if they do have their phone in their room, they have to keep the door open.
I also think we're pretty clear that those phones, those iPads, those are our phones. Those are our iPads.
We pay for it, yeah.
Passwords, and we will let them know. We will just scroll through anything they're looking at.
Yeah.
And so if they don't feel like there are certain things they should be looking at, mommy and daddy are going to see it. And so hopefully that will give them some boundaries and protection, because we've done that. And, Caroline got mad and like, why are you looking at my social media feeds? Because it's our social media feeds. We pay for these.
Yeah.
It's our phone.
It's hard for your kids to argue that too. And I think you have the authority here as a parent, and it is so challenging because of the peer pressure. Their friends have social media, their friends have Snapchat, their friends have this and that, they have Instagram, and so much of it is peer pressure. Social media is really challenging, but I think, like you said, John, it's so important for them to know if at any point, like, they need to know when you give them that phone, I'm gonna look through your phone. This is because this is my phone, and I am paying for it. It is not your phone. So anytime our kids challenge us, I'm like, are you paying the bill? Did you pay for the phone? Okay, no. If you want to pay for it, once you're old enough to pay for your phone and pay for your monthly charges, then you can do what you want. But you're under our roof, you're in our house, you're using a phone that we pay for. At any time, we can look through it, and that's just how it is.
And your kid may say, well, you don't trust me, mom or dad. And I'll respond, it's not that I don't trust you. It's I don't trust what's out there in the world and the people who are trying to connect with you, the content that might be popping up in front of you. That's what I don't trust. And I'm
Yeah.
just here to protect you because that's my job as your parent.
Yeah, and that's a common pushback that we get from the kids. You don't trust me. We do trust you. There's just a lot more at your fingertips, and there's a lot of predators out there. That's why that book, Parenting Generation Screen, can kind of arm you with some of the responses to that, because it's not, it just gives you the ammunition that you need in order to respond to that pushback from your kids. Rita wants to know, do our kids get along, and is Caroline dating? Let's start with the last one, because I have never seen you as flush and flustered as you were this past fall when Caroline went on her first date and had a boyfriend for like a month. You were
Yeah,
not the healthy version of yourself.
probably not. I knew it was going to be a process thinking about my daughter moving into that world of dating. And so I wanted to make sure I knew who the individual was, where she was going, what she was doing. Was he respectable? He had to come and actually talk to me and ask permission. And I just was very clear that I was making conversation with my daughter. How'd your date go? How did he treat you? You know, what do other people say about him? Like, I wanted to let her know that I was very, very interested in the health of her relationship and why she was looking to get involved with a boy and spend more time with him, because it's tough. It's daddy's little girl. This is my one and only girl, and this is her first kind of dating experience. So yeah, it was challenging. It definitely is. But
she was surprised. Don't you think she was a little surprised when we said he has to come over here and ask permission?
Yeah, I think she was, but I think now that she looks back on it, she understands why. And you've mentioned that she likes that I protect her, and
She
I will
does.
always protect her.
Yeah. And I think it's really important. Girls will learn how to be treated by a guy from their fathers, and also how to treat men from their fathers. The boys, our boys, are learning how to treat women from me, and how to be treated by a woman from me. And I think that's a huge responsibility as parents. But yeah, that was really, John, I can't repeat some of the things that you said. Again, you are not your healthiest version. We do have some guidelines for our children dating. They have to ask us. I don't care if that's old school. They have to come ask for permission. They have to be willing to spend time with us, with our family, to get to know us, because we're a pretty tight crew. And if he's not willing, that's what we told Caroline. If this guy or any guy you date is not willing to come get to know us and spend time with us and get to know your little brothers, they're not worth it. Okay.
Yeah.
They need to respect what's important to you. They need to respect our family. They need to respect your parents. And if they're not willing to do that, then maybe they're not the right person for you.
Yeah. And dads out there, probably the most enjoyable question you'll ever ask a boy who's wanting to date your daughter is, what are your intentions with my daughter? And you should see the look of shock, confusion. 99% of them have no idea how to handle that question. So
Nope.
it's kind of fun, but it's the truth. What are your intentions with my daughter? And depending on how they answer that depends on whether or not I'm going to allow them to continue to have a conversation with my daughter or not.
I think you've been really real with Caroline too about what boys want. And it doesn't matter, like all boys, it doesn't matter. Like, and we are people of deep faith, and it doesn't matter if you're a believer or not. Like, all boys kind of want the same thing. And I have boys. I say that as a mother of two sons. And so for you to have those conversations with Caroline, very vulnerable conversations, but you kept it real about what could possibly happen.
Yeah.
I think that was really helpful and beneficial too.
Yeah, I think that's important. We want to have that two-way line of communication, that feedback loop where she feels like she can talk to me about certain things, and I know she confided in you about certain things. And that's important when your kids trust you. They may not want to tell you certain things, but they just feel like mom's not going to be, or dad's not going to be upset with me. They're not going to judge me. They're going to love me no matter what. That is probably the biggest gift we can give our kids.
And one of the biggest gifts that you can have as a parent is Life 360 when your kid starts driving or dating.
Huge.
My parents had Life 360, and if you don't know what it is, it's an app that tracks your child with their phone. I was making out with my high school boyfriend all the time. If my parents had that, I would have been in so much trouble. So we can track our child at any given moment. We can see where she's been, how long she's been. I mean, do you remember this when she was seeing this one particular gentleman,
Yep.
a young man who we really liked, by the way. The car was stopped for like 20 minutes and like on one of the side roads near our house. And you were like,
Yep.
you were going mental.
I was taking screen grabs and texting Caroline. Yep.
Because you saw on Life 360 that the car wasn't moving, and it turns out they hit a deer. And I'm like, so anyway, parents, Life 360 is going to be your big friend if your kids are dating or if they're driving. Oh, do our kids get along? We need to finish that thought with Rita. Our kids, I mean, they're siblings. They annoy one another.
No. It's funny how Caroline, our oldest, and Landon, our youngest, are the most similar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they go head to head a little bit more just because there's so many things that are the same about them. But yeah, all in all, we're very blessed to have kids that get along for the most part. They're never going to get along in every area. They push each other's buttons, but at the end of the day, they love
each other. They do. Caroline has said that she and her brother JJ, they're less than 2 years apart, and they're in 10th and 8th grade respectively now. They're starting to get along a little bit better and appreciate one another. Yeah. Landon's the youngest, and he's just the youngest. I'm the youngest. I get it. Like, we annoy everybody. JJ the other day was talking to him about something, and JJ loves to torment Landon, his little brother. And he said, when I was in kindergarten or whatever grade you're in, Landon, and I'm like, JJ, he's in 4th grade. You just said when I was in kindergarten, Landon, or whatever grade you're in right now. I'm like, dude, you've lost track of time. But they just love to torment one another. It's sibling rivalry. At the end of the day, we tell our kids, though, look, we know you're going to fight about stuff, but you gotta have each other's back. And our kids are big advocates for one another. Like, even I was like, they know to advocate for, like, they can not like one another and annoy one another, but if anybody hurts their brother or sister, like, they're going to be the first one in line to, as Landon would say, kick him in the balls.
Yep.
Landon, I told Landon's
got a go-to move. If you get in a fight with Landon, he's got one go-to move, and that's it.
Kick you in the balls. Sorry, we told you we were going to keep it real here. There's a theme with Landon too, but Landon was asking me this morning on the way to school, and I said, I didn't really like school either when I was your age, because he doesn't like going to school. And I said I didn't like it because I was picked on a lot. And Landon said, where are they right now? I'm going to kick him in the balls. And I was like, Landon, it's okay. Like, we're really far removed from it, but his first line of defense was
protective.
It was sweet that he's very protective of his family. So protective. Caroline wants to know, this question came in.
Caroline, our daughter.
Yeah, she said, how does it feel to have a perfect, beautiful, smart, athletic, amazing daughter?
Yeah. Yeah, there's some of the humbleness that she gets from me. Yeah, that humility for sure.
Oh, I just responded. I said, LOL. She's a good kid. We tell our kids all the time, we want you to be good human beings, to be kind and respectful.
And don't take yourself too seriously.
Don't take yourself too seriously. Yeah, exactly.
All said in jest.
Some work-life balance questions. And this is a good one for you, John. Okay. And this is anonymous because she doesn't want to out herself. She says, how do you share the household load without it feeling like one is nagging the other?
Yeah, I think we've gone through different seasons of work-life balance and how we were when we were really building our careers kind of in Chicago and New York. Our kids were young, and it was very heavy on the work and less on the balance with the home. But we've started to really flip that switch. And I understand the things that are important to you. We had a lot more help around the home. Yeah. When we were back in New York, we had an au pair that lived with us who could take on a lot of those duties. We don't have that anymore. And so I think we're a lot more involved in just the day-to-day and the cooking, the cleaning, the parenting. In New York, I never dropped my kids off at school or picked them up for almost 10 years of schooling. Now I'm almost daily, I'm at least doing one of those activities. So it's different. But I know it's important to you, and I know that I want to honor you. And so I'm not just going to say, hey, you need to do all this stuff because you're at home more or you're the woman. I don't believe in that at all.
Mm-hmm. And also, like, I saw a really good reel on Instagram. He's like, it is not my job to help my wife with the kids and help my wife with the cooking and help my clean. It is my responsibility as her spouse and partner to do those things. And I think it's so much of it is the generational weight that
It
we've
is.
grown up with. It's how we were raised, the expectations, but it wasn't always like that. The best, most traditional families in America were on the farm where they were working side by side, parenting, laboring together, working together. They were truly partners. And I will say, though, that yes, we spend so much more time with our children now. We've created the life we wanted.
Yeah.
Much of that is because we both work from home, and I realize that that is a privilege that a lot of people don't have. But the importance of my children and our children seeing you as their father doing the laundry, cleaning, cooking, things that have been deemed a woman's work, right? My boys know how to cook. We are very intentional with making sure that they're doing their laundry, showing them how to do things. And I want to do those things for them because I'm the mom, I'm their mother. And I think moms can love their kids too much where we cut our kids off at the knees. But I want them to see you doing those things. JJ gets real defensive too and protective of me. What did he say the other day when you picked him up from school? He said, "Dad, did you help mom? Did you help out with dinner tonight?" Right?
Yeah. He
I
knew that
love
was
that.
something we talked about earlier that
Yeah.
morning. And so he was just following up, encouraging me to support and love you because he definitely supports and loves you.
And I think that's a whole nother conversation, but it should be a partnership. Regardless of the work dynamic, I mean, we're all working as parents. I just think it's important for us all to be part of it. And the sons and daughters of parents who work just tend to be more helpful in general, and have more confidence. I want my boys, especially, to be really good partners.
Yeah.
And I want their future partners to say thank you for teaching them to be thoughtful and teaching them how to do laundry and teaching them how to boil noodles. Like those are life skills too. Like I don't want them to get married to somebody just so they can have a domestic partner who can do all that stuff for them. I want to have them to have a equal partner, different but equal. Yes, we all bring something different to the table. But I do think it's really important, from my perspective as the woman, and there is the mom default. We're just expected to do more. Even working moms, we work like 100 hours a week when you factor in everything, work, and then our responsibilities at home because we pick up all these responsibilities. I think it's important to invite our partner into the conversation, and just say, look, this is not good for it. And it's not good for our mental health to try to carry it all. It's not like this in other countries. It is much more equitable. But invite your partner into the conversation. Often they don't know what they don't know, but express to them the importance of your children, seeing them in these other capacities. It's important for you. It's important for your relationship and your own dynamic. But it should be a partnership at the end of the day. But invite your partner into that conversation, and get them to see things from a different perspective and have them read my book, You Don't Have to Carry It All. Ditch the Mom Guilt and Find a Better Way Forward, because that explains a lot. John, how do you manage your home while managing careers? Do you hire a cleaner? Yeah, we have somebody, and I'm not trying to carry it all. I'm not trying to not ask for help. I ask for help. I can't do it. I drop balls every single day. I'm not trying to be perfect. We have somebody that cleans our house once a month. We have somebody that comes to do our yard work every other week. Luckily, we can afford those things. But if you can't afford those things, I know people who have created a community where they're like, I'll watch your kids on Friday, you watch mine, or I'll clean your house and you clean mine. But I know my time is valuable, and I value my time with my kids and my husband. And I would rather forsake not spending as much on clothes one month so that we can afford to have somebody clean the house once a month. It's like it's prioritizing.
Yeah. Prioritizing, and also just being intentional and organizing your calendar and your schedule. Like we know what everyone's doing throughout the week. We've got a big board in our house that we look at. And that way I can know, hey, I'm going to be working from this time to this time, and there's going to be no distractions. But then at the same time, when I'm with my family, I'm not going to be working, and there'll be no distractions. I can be present with my kids and my family, or with you, Paula.
And thank you, honey. And I don't feel guilty. Like we eat out a lot right now. We eat out a lot because of the time of year it is. You're coaching. All the kids are playing sports. This kind of goes along with what we're talking about. David wants to know, how do you keep dinner ideas fresh without making favorites mundane and staying on budget? Well, budgets are hard. Food budgets are hard this time of year because we're eating out a lot. But one thing that we've done, and I think it's really saved in many ways our relationship, because as we said, one of the biggest fights that we have is not just consistency in parenting, but it's what we're having for dinner. We started doing a meal delivery service called HelloFresh. I am not a
Great.
spokesperson. I
Easy.
get no money, but our kids get involved in it. Like yesterday, Landon was picking out the meals that we're going to get delivered in 2 weeks. He's picking out the meals he's going to get for his birthday week. So our kids get involved. It's easy. There's no waste. I don't have to spend any mental load or capacity. And honestly, like if I go through the drive-through for a family of 5, it's like $50-$60.
Easy.
It's crazy. And these meals are like between $40 and $50. So like it's actually, I spend less because I'm not spending $10 on a bottle of sesame oil for a recipe where I need a tablespoon. So it has saved our family in so many different ways. And also like
variety, so many different things that we normally wouldn't eat. We get to experiment and try, and we've really opened our palates, I guess, as you say.
So David, and I know David has 5 daughters, so consider that meal delivery. And you know what? We just give ourselves a lot of grace with our food budget this time of year. We really do. So we'd rather like button down some other categories and not spend as much in those categories so that we can take the pressure off of us in this category. Megan wants to know your best parenting advice.
My best parenting advice, just be aligned and communicate with your spouse. Make sure that if you're parenting in a certain way, they understand why you're doing it and that you're on the same page. Because there's nothing worse than telling your kid one thing and then your spouse tells them the other thing. That's just confusing, and it makes you look bad that you're not on the same page. So I think that would be my best parenting advice. Get on the same page with your spouse, talk it out, be proactive ahead of time, because there's only so many situations that come up in parenting. And if you know what those are and you've talked about them ahead of time, then it's a lot easier.
Yeah, that's good. I think just be really quick to forgive and say you're sorry. You got to lead through example. I tell my kids every day, I'm not perfect, but when I make a mistake, I'm going to be quick to say I'm sorry. And so we all live in that grace that we're not trying to be perfect, and we are a very forgiving family. We're very flawed family, but we're a very forgiving family. It's the holidays. Ooh, this is good. How do you determine which side of the family to spend holidays with? And how do you let the other side know and let them down? Asking for a first-time parent with babies where everyone wants to see the child, or even the flip side, those parents who are on the receiving end of children who have grown and have a life of their own. This is from Candace. Wow, this is tough. We get it, because my family's in Michigan primarily. Your family's in Indiana. We live in South Carolina, and we've always lived away from our families. We lived in Chicago and New York. So this is something that we feel really viscerally. How have we handled it, honey?
I think it was a lot more difficult the first probably 10 years of our marriage, because you were very used to what your Christmas and your Thanksgiving looked like in the Faris family. And I know what mine looked like in the Kruger family. And we wanted to continually have that. So what we ended up doing is just splitting. We would, it wasn't convenient, but we would drive to Indiana and then we would drive to Michigan. So we'd spend 3-4 days in one house, 3-4 days in the other. So that way we would get the best of both worlds. Now, over time, our families have grown. Our kids, we have more roots here. So we're okay having Christmas, just our family, and then spending time maybe after the holidays or after the new year with our parents. So it's much different now, but I will tell you the first 10 years, it was a little bit more difficult and a little more rigorous to try to get involved with both families.
Yeah, it's hard to make it equitable, to be honest. And somebody's always going to feel left out, especially if you live far away. I think it's almost more challenging when you have family in town, because you're like, I'm going here in the morning, I'm going here for breakfast, and to this family's house for lunch, and this family's for dinner. In many ways, we can be really intentional. But like last year, we went to Indianapolis for Thanksgiving, and for Christmas, we went to Michigan. This year is tough because right now I don't have any plans to go to Michigan, but we are having your family down for the holidays. And I think just realizing it's not always going to be equitable, and that's okay. But making time, even if it's not at the holidays, like I don't really want to go back to Michigan for Christmas.
In the
It's
winter.
cold and dreary, and I don't want to go back to Indianapolis and it's cold and dreary. So making time outside of the holidays I would much rather go to Michigan and Lake Michigan in the summertime, and same with Indiana. It doesn't always have to be at the holidays. I think we have this nostalgia that it has to be a certain way. I'll be home for Christmas, right? I want to be at our home in South Carolina for Christmas from here on out. And then we can invite family or we can go someplace else. So doing what's right for your family, being respectful, and then finding times throughout the year to be really intentional with your family if you don't live near them. Kristen wants to know, we're saving money for Christmas, not buying for our extended family, and they are upset. I get that. Everybody's budgets are different. And what we decided to do, like, there's nothing we really need as adults, right? I mean, what do we really need? I know I've bought everything for myself for Christmas. John, by the way, it's in a plastic bag in the spare bedroom. I'll hand it to you so you can wrap it.
Oh,
We don't
thank you.
need anything as adults. And I think the kids, we ended up, something that we've done, all the adults still want to do it. Everybody spends $20, one present, and you buy it and you do like the Yankee gift swap where you have fun with it. Or the cousins, they draw names. So there's some creative ways to still, stay on a budget, or just, I feel like we just have so much excess too. Like, we don't need more gifts. Let's do something fun surrounding it. And drawing names is always a really, really good time. Or doing volunteering as a family, or we volunteered at a homeless shelter and handed out meals as part of our small group in church, and our whole family did that. And that was something really special too. So volunteering as families is something great that you can do as well.
Those are some really good insights. And I would encourage you to, is it more about the presents, or is it more about this quality time with your family? Because that's what is most important to us right now. The kids, maybe that's not as important to them. They want the presents. So maybe you eliminate doing the parent gifts and you just focus on the kids.
I want to do something and surprise you. One thing, like, we're still learning about one another. You told me a couple of weeks ago, and we make lunches for the kids. Again, you're very actively involved in our children. You told me, as we were making probably our 400th peanut butter and jelly sandwich for JJ for school this year, you're like, I've never had one. And I'm shocked, a little disturbed that you've never had a peanut butter. That's like Americana. So I made you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and it's right outside of your office.
Wow.
Okay, so I want you to go get it and bring the plate. I've made it. I even cut the crust off for you.
Oh, goodness.
Okay. I knew you wouldn't try one unless I put you on the spot like this.
There's certain things like soup. It's not a meal because there's not meat in there. And same thing.
There is.
Well, like a sandwich, it's just got like jelly and peanut butter on it.
Wait a second.
Like, where's the ham? Where's the turkey? Where's the roast beef?
I love peanut butter. It's like Americana. It's a staple of childhood. And the fact that you haven't had one, I feel like you're missing out on childhood.
You cut the crust off.
I cut the crust off. I put lots of peanut butter and jelly. So I'm just going to shut up, and I want you to take the first bite of your first ever peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Wow, this
as a 47-year-old man.
This is going to be must-see TV.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. I give you a napkin.
Thank you.
What do you think?
It's not bad.
Okay. Better or worse than you thought it would be?
Maybe a little bit more jelly, if that's a word. I can taste the jelly more than the peanut butter.
Okay, so the balance of peanut butter and jelly is not great.
A little sweet, so it's good. I like the texture. I like soft.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very soft sandwich as well. So, yeah, that was a good bite.
Are you going to finish it?
No.
Are you going to take another bite?
Probably not.
Oh my gosh, I failed.
Yeah. No, you didn't do anything. I like what I like.
Okay.
And PB&J just doesn't really fit into that realm. But
right. Well, do me a favor.
You're
welcome. Do me a favor. Put it back in the plastic bag and seal it, and I'll take it to JJ for after school snack. How about that?
You can explain to him why there's one bite taken out of the sandwich.
Oh, we are so messed up. I love you, honey. Thank you for doing this.
I love you too. Thank you so much. Always good spending time with you, and let's talk about it.
I know. It's so good. And I can't wait to see you because you're 15 feet away.
Yep.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you guys had as much fun listening to that conversation and asking us questions as John and I had. That's something that we want to do in 2024. The two of us will pop in and answer your questions, but we're going to be really leaning into the things that we're talking about as parents, the conversations that we're talking about as parents. So we're going to do a series on raising children and parenting. We're going to do a series on how to make your relationship a priority and navigating relationships when you have kids. We're going to do a series on work-life balance, which is something that we all struggle with because we all have so much on our plate. That's something we're really going to lean into in 2024 with season 2. And the interviews will start in February, and John is going to join me. But in January, I just wanted to give you some little encouraging words from me to you. So these won't be interviews. It's just going to be like a 3 to 5 minute download for you. I want to encourage you where you are, speak life into you where you are, and just help you get 2024 off on a positive note. I'm going to sign off for 2023. Can't wait to jump into the new year with you guys as we continue to talk about it. Oh, one more thing. Is this still on? Yeah, it is. If you're watching on YouTube right now, hit that subscription button, or wherever you're listening, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss a beat, and invite your friends. Let's spread the word and let's talk about it.